We're back in the room, everyone. So good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you to Well for Travel for letting me share the stage with some of the brilliant minds that we've already had at this point today. And I think you'll agree with me, we have had some brilliant minds up on this stage, and this panel will be no different. But before we get into the panel on communication technology and the enablers for education on the sustainability plight, I'd like to welcome to the stage Dr. Misa Libaril, Policy Advisor for the European Commission.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much. I've been asked to deliver some opening remarks, and I hope I'll be brief. I believe I have about 10 minutes. Yes, so let's crack on with the fun. I am going to have to talk about tourism and data, and so it wasn't a joke when I said let's crack on with the fun, because I know people normally don't like it very much when we start with data. It's very obscure, it's very technical. I'm very passionate about it because I think when it comes to tourism, it is all that we need. It is the first thing that we need if we discuss sustainability, if we discuss accessibility, inclusivity, you name it. We have to start with data. And so that's what I wanted to talk to you about what the European Commission is doing for data in tourism. And it's a little bit different if we speak about tourism or if we speak about data. So I'll start with both together, and then bear with me, I will take a step back from tourism and give you an overview of what we do about data. There's a reason for this. For tourism, in tourism, the European Commission doesn't have an awful lot of power, meaning that we cannot make any rules. So you will never ever hear that in Brussels we are writing any legislation that affects tourism. That will not happen because the governments don't want us to. That's fine. So it's in the treaties. It's not going to happen so much as it won't happen for education or for sport. It's just very national, very close to our cultural hearts. So what do? We support destinations and we support small and medium enterprises, understanding what is going on and who does it well already. So we pick up the best performance, the good practices, and we share them. We make sure that they know what's going on in the market. And hopefully, if I have any time next year with the new commission coming in, also internationally. This is where events like World for Travel are priceless for us. That's the one thing we do. The second thing we do, we make sure funds are available for small and medium enterprises to pick up the solutions or to develop new solutions. And the third thing that we do is to make sure that we all, within the internal market, go in the same direction. So we all go together towards one big goal. And that goal is called the European Agenda for Tourism 2030. By doing that, to this purpose, we talk to all of your governments. We get them in a room 3-4 times a year at ministerial level, or even more often when it's like at expert level, and we agree on what we want. And what we have agreed for this agenda is that we want tourism to be more sustainable, more resilient, and more innovative. This is all online. You can Google this very easily, and you will find this declaration in any language, in any of the 27 European languages. Now, you probably think, well, this is not legislation, so what do I care? If it can't force anyone to do anything, why is it important? Because it is a commitment at European level. It is a commitment at political level. To reach it, we have discussed and compromised for months, almost a year ahead, and we have done it with the private sector and with the public sector, so everyone has agreed on this. So it's not compulsory, but it is a commitment which will be respected, and next year we'll have a new commission, because it's so much founded on the Green Deal and on everything we have done for a greener future. It won't be overturned. There'll be no U-turn on this one, so we'll keep going towards those goals. Now, when it comes to tourism and data, and this is where I wanted to go, this is called the soft approach. Because we can't force you to do anything, then it's called a soft approach on behalf of the EU, and it's very effective because there's some money involved, obviously, but it's not as effective as rules and laws would be. But it is still extremely useful, because what we notice is that business and destinations across the EU don't really always know what to do with data. They don't know what data can do for them. in terms of potential, in terms of empirical evidence or tools to proceed, to move forward. And so it's very important that someone at central level does it and provides the knowledge and the networking that is necessary. So I'd say that is our mission number one when it comes to tourism, but this is the part where it becomes interesting. Because it is data, and data is well beyond tourism, and tourism uses all kinds of data. We were just hearing now a whole panel about aviation, and there's a lot of data there, and there's a lot of agendas there. That's not tourism, that's mobility. And we have the power to regulate that. Data is not just tourism, that's also connectivity, and we have the power to regulate that. It becomes interesting because everything we do on data will immediately impact tourism. And we are working very much on data. Before COVID, I want to say probably before 2018, there was no such thing. We had a great idea for a digital Europe, and we thought, we have great targets, let's do this for 2030. It has all changed in a matter of 4 years. In 2019, we had a whole strategy for data, which was a strategy, no rules, no laws, strategy. But in 2022, last year, we have adopted the Data Governance Act. I know this is very boring, I'm giving you names of legislation, but it's interesting because this act, which is now law, so applicable in all of our governments, tries to dismantle one of the two main issues that we have with artificial intelligence, machine learning based on big data. So it tackles the one problem that we have with big data, which is access. Data is not immediately accessible. Big data is in the hands of a few holders, which is legit. We're not trying to change that, but we are trying to improve sharing. A little life hack when you talk to the Commission, which I really think I should put forward, because sometimes we are being accused to act rashly or to act a bit unexpectedly. The European Union only intervenes on any kind of market, on the internal market, when there is a gap in the market. And data, well, the internal market, you probably know this, internal market is defined by the freedom of movement of goods, products, and people. Data is the new goal. Data is the new service or product or good. You call it what you want, but it's not, there is no free movement of it. Large amounts of data are in the hands of a few holders. This is fine. There is no monopoly issue that we can see where we should intervene, but data should be shared. So this is what's going to happen with this new Data Governance Act that is now applicable as of September 2023, a month ago. We will try to get this flow going so that more people will have access to better data across borders and across sectors. And this has an obvious impact on tourism. I'm going to give you 3 examples of how this works, because I don't want to bite too much into the time I have been allocated, but I'm here for questions, if there are any. The first tool that comes with this act, the European Governance Act, is the idea of intermediaries, data intermediaries. So it's easier with an example. Imagine you buy an electric car and you possibly drive it. All the data that you produce should not stay with the service provider. They don't need all of your data. Some of these data, yeah, they probably do. I mean, if you want to get insurance out of it, the insurance company should have some data out of your service provider, but the rest is yours. You own it. And the data intermediary will make sure that it stays safe. Some place where no one can access it, unless it is for a targeted reason, for a specific reason. That's a data intermediary. The second concept and tool is the data altruism concept. So from now on, you will have the possibility to willingly give some of your own data in an anonymized version for social benefits. So you can give it up, if you so wish, for healthcare reasons, for research, to help startups, to help climate change, if research is in that direction, mobility, anything you want, but it's for greater social benefits. And then, and this is the part that gets me really excited, because that's what I've been working on for the past 1.5 years, we want to have data spaces for every sector where data can flow easily. And I'm working on the data space for tourism. It's a very ambitious project. By the time it's complete, I may not be here doing this because we rotate a lot. But it will take a few years, and it requires your governments to run it. But we are working on it. There's a call now if you're interested, if you're very strong on data interoperability. We're looking for someone to set up the infrastructure. So there's 8 million euros made available for whoever wants to apply. The application is online and it closes in January. The data space is very simple as a concept, but complicated to put on. It means that we need a set of principles, a governance to agree to share our data, and that involves private sector, large platforms, small SMEs, and it also involves technical standards for interoperability. Those we're working on, but we're also hoping for governments who already have them or companies who already have them to come to us and say, we got this, we build them scalable, we can use them, they can become European standards. This is a possibility, this is an opportunity that's offered to you right now because we in that gray area where we're building this from scratch. So again, what we're trying to do is to make sure that data is shared, flows across borders, flows across sectors, not just tourism, but mobility, cultural heritage, smart communities, energy, everything can be used. And so that we can have an internal market for data. And when it comes to tourism, we know that there's a lot more in the game, and there's skills to take care of. We have a strategy for that. There's support to destinations that we need to provide, and we will provide that starting next year. So we've got a lot going on, but it starts and it ends with data. And I hope there are questions. If there are, I'll be outside, I'm here. And I hope I've covered pretty much what we do in terms of soft approach or really hardcore rules and laws. And I hope that this was helpful for you to understand that we are really working together and with you on this. Thank you very much. Where do you want me? Over here?
All right, so yeah, the European Commission is working hard just to show you exactly how data can be an enabler of sustainability. And we're going to welcome the rest of our panel onto stage now to kind of discuss and unpack this further. So please join me in welcoming Brody Carr, head of Global Partnerships at Exceptional Alien. Maria Prieto, Regional Director for Western Europe at Booking.com. Marcello Notoriani, Senior Associate at SMA Tourism. And finally, but least but not last, Raj Gayawali, Partner at the Ethical Travel Portal in Norway, and founder at Social Tours in Nepal. Brilliant. So thank you so much, everyone, for bearing with us. I know we are slightly behind schedule, so forgive me, but I'm going to dive right in it with these guys. So following on from the sentiment that Misa so kindly shared with us earlier, data, innovation, technology, AI, the likes of it, are key enablers of sustainability. So I wanted to ask these to the panel, what kinds of innovation, tech, AI, data, whatever it may be, are you leveraging within your own organizations to communicate the value proposition of sustainability? To name a few already, is it data sharing, is it generative AI, or is it something completely different? And I'm going to go to Maria, please.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for having me here. It's a big pleasure. For us at Booking.com, basically an extension of what we are envisioning to leverage technology to try to solve some of the frictions that we do have when we are traveling. We have launched the AI trip planner. Basically, it was just in June. That basically what it's trying to solve is having the information from travelers from a very generic point of view where we can actually provide specific information to very concrete at all levels of the journey. So basically when we are at home, in the office, looking for a travel, whilst we are traveling, and post-travel. So we're trying to also get inspiration. We are also trying to get information about what also the travelers need and use this information as well to become a better player. And also connected to the sustainability, we do have a lot of things to do to be able to facilitate that information. So basically, that's an absolutely great tool for also us to become more relevant for travel, for the travel industry. Also together with the generative AI, that also will help us to achieve our mission to the connected trip. That's actually something that we are working since many years. And again, use that information, use this technology to support our partners, our customers, and also our operations at Booking.com.
Thank you. And Brody, I know that you help a lot of clients to kind of realize their sustainability goals. And so what kind of innovations or methods are you implementing with those guys?
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Kate. Maybe I'll quickly explain what exceptional alien is, because everyone knows what Booking.com is, but no one knows what, apart from a weird name, what exceptional alien is. And it's basically a authentic storytelling platform for creator-led destination marketing. And what we do is we create stories of destination, whether it's sustainable or not, but in this case sustainable. We allow these stories, which are authentic because they're from people, to connect to consumers. And we do that by using AI and BI and all the intelligence platforms to know who wants sustainable messaging, who wants to travel sustainable, so when they land in a destination and they're searching, and we know that they are a sustainable traveller, we can serve them with that type of content. So we've worked with airlines, we've worked with a competitor of Booking.com to give them that type of storytelling. We're not a data company, so to speak. We're more of that allowing people to authentically connect and think, well, this really is a sustainable thing, and I can do it.
So both organizations are using information to connect with their travelers. Are you seeing the same within yours, Raj, in both of your organizations that you're?
Yeah, thanks, Kate. Well, I'm from the ground, so I work in ground operations in Nepal and in Norway. And during the pandemic, when everything came to a stop, we got a bit bored. So we decided to actually now try and see if we could influence travelers and educate them a little better. So we're using technology to do that, and I've created 2 platforms now, one called Resonate, which is doing storytelling, and trying to influence travelers through local storytelling so that they can travel sustainably through local stories. But the other thing that we're doing, which is quite exciting, is a bridge between the operator, the small operator, who we consider to be much more sustainable than big operators, and the traveler. And for that, we're using a tool called Stomp, which is helping small operators use technology to enhance competitiveness, and but also using transparency as a tool to actually train and educate travelers. So yeah, we are taking on technology quite strongly, and I think AI is going to come in at the next level when we start doing carbon calculations, enhancing the platform a little bit more. But yet, we have not yet reached that stage at this point.
I think you raise a really valid point there. Transparency is a key, player at large that needs to come back into the discussion again and again and again. But tell me, Marcelo, are you seeing the same thing? Are you looking to innovate with technology or other kind of innovation to just further the cause?
Thank you. As a consulting firm specializing in tourism development and management, we help destination and business to be more competitive and more sustainable. And I have 2 examples that we use to work with artificial intelligence. For example, when we analyze online customer review of their experience and advising for key trends on the typical profile of those very or less supportive in their reviews. And then our second example is using artificial intelligence powered with virtual agents and robots to promote resource efficient behavior as a part of the tourists by providing feedback on their water and energy use during, for example, in the hotel stay. This is a 2 concrete examples how we use this for our work. Thanks.
Brilliant. And Misa, do you have anything to add in maybe other ways that we could be injecting innovation into our businesses that we haven't maybe brought up on stage just yet?
Yeah, but I think honestly, listening to this is inspiring, and it uses innovations in several different ways. But I don't think it's just about innovation. Innovation, to us at least, it means to an end. Data is only means to an end. And so if we look at sustainability, there's way more than just going green. There's being inclusive, and making sure the local residents benefit from tourism. They're not just the victim of a theme park. And there's also the fact that sustainability is also economic. So we always use these three elements, green, economic, and social. So tourism is sustainable when local artisans get a market. It's not just going to be, some gadgets made in XYZ put in the country. I certainly am not allowed to. But so I think so long as we work towards those goals, it doesn't really matter which kind of technology you use. And this is my personal opinion, not the opinion of the European Commission, although I'm sure that if I ask my colleagues, they would agree. I'm not worried about artificial intelligence as being something that we should be very careful around. I don't think it's going to steal our jobs either. I think it will steal your job if you don't use artificial intelligence in the future. So I see opportunities. I don't quite see the challenges so long as we associate skills and education and support to everything else that we do. So technology is great, but tourism in Europe is 99% small and medium enterprises. And I don't think that a lot of restaurants run by a family can handle that much technology if we don't help.
I mean, let's just touch upon the point that you raised there about AI and, the fact that it can help us in so many ways. I'm not worried about it taking our jobs either and not helping us. It's going to improve efficiencies so that it frees up everyone's time to focus on more important things, whether that be growing another additional revenue stream, whether that be focusing on other things like the fact that we should be right here, right now, as of yesterday or however many years ago, to ensure us that we get to 2030 and to 2050 goals, is sustainability. But there are some drawbacks to innovation and to technology. I mean, AI and algorithms are only as good as the data maybe that they are trained on and, the models that we base on them. What can we do to kind of tackle and overcome these hurdles that might be put in place by innovating and doing such things as other enablers for sustainability? Raj, you're nodding, so I'm going to come to you first.
Sorry, I was not meant to nod, but anyways, now that I've nodded, I'm here. But you're right. I think, AI has got this inherent drawback, but I think, it's only 8 months old. So we've got to remember that it's learning really, really fast. And as this is learning, we've heard of different people who are using triangulation mechanisms to actually make the data make the information more accurate. But if I look at, the usage from my perspective and just see how important it can be, I'm talking about small and medium operators. The same people you're saying would probably not have access to technology. That's where we need to get the access of AI. And for them, it's excellent because if you imagine a small operator in Nepal or somewhere in Italy who has no language skills, AI can actually help completely translate everything. I mean, it's already accurate in about 82 languages at this point. At only 8 months old, right? And it can actually do that. So we were talking about actually, there's so many uses of it. I mean, we just talk about maybe a few sales jobs getting away because, a ChatGPT chat forum does the sales assistant work, which is also not good enough. Usually, for tourism, you need manpower to actually give perspective. So there is a lot of possibility out there. And, we are now talking about actually doing carbon calculations using AI, for example, which is totally possible. It's just math. So it's kind of easy to do. So, there's a lot of stuff that can be done which can actually enhance the consumer behavior, educate the traveler, but also help small and medium operators enhance competitiveness. And I think if we use it from that perspective, it will be very powerful. It's also very good to use AI to do data analysis. I mean, we all know that sustainability data is virtually non-existent in tourism. Not people put any sort of effort on sustainability data. We have a lot of figures in terms of numbers and stuff like that, but real sustainability measurement is something that is not happening. So, the Glasgow Declaration is talking about measurements, and the action towards that is actually using all this technology that is available and AI on top of it to layer that and then make it much better.
I think Lucas Bobas from Amadeus raised a fantastic point yesterday in the press conference that actually we would love to implement the technology to then work out the measurements for us on carbon emissions and things like that. But there is a level of uncertainty currently that surrounds these measurements, that a lot of figures will vary quite vastly. And so it's about making sure we can get that data, the raw data that's going to go into the technology right first before we can kind of go to that next stage.
Can I quickly take that? Yeah. Because we just heard in the previous panel that we should not let perfection stop us from progress, right? And I think this is what we have to really adopt. If you talk about a traveler, if I'm a traveler, I'm not really bothered if my carbon emission is 6 tons or 6.53 tons. That's for a scientist, and that's probably for the big data handler to be accurate. But as a traveler, for me to change my behavior, I just need to know that it's 6 tons and what I can do with it. And if we can start changing the behavior of people traveling, I think the real change is going to happen there and not in our calculations of how many tons it is.
Yeah.
So,
Great point. And Maria, you're nodding as well. I know that I saw that earlier as well. How are Booking.com kind of like tackling this?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I love what you just mentioned, but also linked to Miss comments. I think we all have a role to play. And I think that no matter how big, how small we are, as a consumer, as a companies, as a governments, that's something that we need to do. And there's a lot of education that needs to really put in place to make things happening. If I think about the initiatives that we're doing, we are indeed, we launched, for instance, 2 years ago, the Sustainable Program that is also all about trying to educate, trying to also share the learnings, try to also put in practice and facilitate what we have learned from professionals, from governments, from people that really understand what could be done to make it available for our partners to put it in practice. So I think there's a lot that, again, it could be done. Because also sometimes, I listen how people connect travel with not good practices, with massive tourism. Indeed, there's a challenge that we need to solve. But also travel could bring a lot of opportunities. And if we respect the society, the local communities, if we respect the environments, if we really respect the biodiversity, there's a lot of opportunities to amplify the horizons, to really try to break barriers, to also try to make human connections in a much more meaningful way. So also I want to also look at for this positive element, because indeed, if we jointly work together, if we educate, if we really take this not just for the current scenario, but also for the future generations, there's going to be a lot of things happening. Then, back to specifically our program, this program is available for all our partners. Right now we have more than 5,000 partners involved. Some, they are doing sustainable practice in a maybe minor way, but actually we also want to give visibility, and we want to explain the travelers what our accommodations, what our partners are doing, because there's huge and nice and meaningful actions that we do see in the industry that needs to be shared and better explained, because there's a lot of information that indeed it's not displayed and it's not really fair for the accommodations.
I'm just conscious of time, so I might, unless Brody and Marcelo, you have anything burning to add to that point, we'll move on. I mean, Raj, I think you touched upon it, and so did Brody, storytelling and using that as an enabler of education when it comes to sustainability. What other initiatives, or what, when it's pertinent to this particular initiative, how do we use that to challenge user behaviors and really use that to our own benefit, to delivering the message in a creative way to further the cause? Marcelo.
This is a very difficult question, my opinion. But anyway, I will try to answer. I agree with Raj that it's important to achieve greater sustainability without communicating how sustainable we are and what in particular we need to work on. What we have done, for example, in the past, it's important to empower all the stakeholders to understand and participate in enhancing the sustainability. One of our recurring projects is to create a sustainable tourism model for destination. This model monitoring and sometimes forecasts the health of tourism and destination, which include environmental, community, economic, and experiential dimension. This model has very much helped us to understand and to also communicate to the destination the importance to go towards this destination. When I start to work for sustainability, I started many years ago, and the sustainability, it's a challenge. It's a path, it's a direction. So I think we don't have to be we don't have to be fair to communicate with the client and to say what we are reaching and what are the bottlenecks. This is a very important in order to engage, as you mentioned before, engage the tourist. That's all.
Yeah, I agree. But Brody, you might have a different approach to storytelling and kind of educating the consumers on the approach to sustainability.
Yeah, I kind of touched on it at the start, Kate, and we still believe in at Exceptional Alien that personalisation of actual real stories is important. So as long as you can't game the system and deliver false kind of, I don't know if you know about the restaurant, the Shed of Dulwich. If anyone knows about the restaurant, the Shed of Dulwich in London, it was #1 on TripAdvisor, but the restaurant didn't exist. It got gamed, and no one ever went there. It served dinner once for 10 people, but it didn't exist as a real thing. So for us, as long as there's some personal elements to it that you can connect to and trust, then it'll be fine. And if you can't game it. And like Raj said, we're young on this AI journey. We're really young. I mean, when the internet came, we probably had these same kind of, most of us might remember when the internet came, we had these same kind of like disbeliefs about it and worries about it. But like Raj said, it's young on the journey. I think we all want the right thing out of it, and eventually we'll weed out the things that we don't want, and it'll get there.
Raj, you already touched upon transparency and how much of this is a key role to play in the storytelling and the communication that we provide to the consumers.
I think it has a lot, actually. Transparency, I mean, let's give an example. I mean, if you see an open kitchen in a restaurant, you trust it, right? It's simple as that. And transparency is exactly that. I mean, in the industry, we're not very transparent when we sell our packages. We just say a figure, take it or leave it. And that's a very standard way to do that. The most transparent ones are probably the commodified ones, like an airline ticket. We know exactly what we get, a bad seat and a bad meal, so we know what we're getting. But when you get to an experience, we never tell that. And this is a huge, huge problem. And I think if we can start becoming transparent, I think the storytelling will flow through that as well. You start knowing who's involved in the process, who's making the money, how much is the money spread, how much profits are being made, how much tax is being paid. All of that transparency has got a key role in turning around how people view tourism and how they actually demand tourism, right? I mean, you see that with restaurants now. Why are more and more restaurants having an open kitchen? Because it works, right? It's simple as that. On the storytelling front, I think, again, going back to the whole commodification versus an experience, tourism should be an experience, but unfortunately, 80% of tourism is just a commodity. It's a product sold at a price. And when you do that, there's nothing that is really done in excess to that. There's no need for the storytelling. There's no need for anything. But thankfully, that demand is changing. The new generation actually wants experience, and they want more and more of that. And for that, local storytelling becomes really, really important to do. So if I come to Sebel here, I would like to know from a local what I should be doing. I don't really want to read it on Lonely Planet. I want to know it from a local today if there is a concert happening or something happening. And that becomes a really important part of my journey. And, so a lot more needs to be done on storytelling. And I think as the world of tourism moves from this commodification to more experiential, I think it's going to happen automatically. And the travelers are going to demand those stories as well.
And Maria, if we take a step back from what we're seeing here with Raj, how are Booking.com looking to approach this where it comes to the storytelling and kind of the transparency and the information provided to consumers?
Yeah, I think that's super crucial, and also linked to the artificial intelligence. we are pretty new. I mean, as a society, we are learning as we speak. But I think we also have a responsibility to look at this technology as well as a responsibility to take care on, for instance, the ethics that we use, the companies use. We have to really build something strong that can protect our consumers. We also need to facilitate and be mindful that the information, the data, the personal data that is input in those platforms is secure, that also we protect from having inappropriate content, that we also keep sharing with the education piece, consumers, all of us, how relevant it is to do not provide certain data that could damage and could make them unprotected. So I think there's a lot of things still to do. But again, no matter how big, how small, we all have a responsibility and we need support and we need to support each other to really ensure that we become into a world where it's also protecting ourselves as individuals.
Yes, transparency, I think, is a still very open challenge. There is an introduction of the digital product passport. This is a tool to collect and sharing product data through the entire life cycle. I think, important to understand the product sustainability, environmental recyclability, and I think in this case, blockchain could have a really good part on this. About storytelling and narrative can also help a lot, but all these things should be connected with some reliable, on-time, and good data, and to be supported, too easy to read, interpret, so we do not incur in some such of greenwashing.
We do have a bit of time left, as the other session did run quite late, so I have been given the nod, but I'm going to give everyone the time that they deserve on stage. So let's talk about Booking.com and the recent sentiment report on sustainability, and it found, again, a theme that's been discussed many a time on this stage already today, the cost versus conscience when it comes to sustainability and traveller demand. There's definitely the appetite for it. There's definitely the demand. We've seen that in all the statistics that have gone through today. But how do we kind of close that gap between demand and realization of sustainable travel? What kind of work needs to be done and how can we tackle it? Maria?
Yeah, no, indeed. That's the big dilemma, right? Cost versus conscious. So that's indeed something that we need to take care of. I think there's also fact. There's 80% of appetite to really book sustainable accommodation, but people do not know where to find that information. So in our resources, 1 out of 4 people do not know where to find and really where to trust as well that this information is true. Again, back to education. There's actually, if I'm not wrong, around 50% of the people that we also ask in a large resort that tells that there's not enough information, there's not enough inventory for them to choose sustainable accommodation. So once again, there's many things that we could do on that.
Isa, how would you maybe recommend to tackle the gap between the two?
My answer is, by definition, really boring because it goes on regulatory again. But we're very aware of what Maria is saying. It's very true. And there are some tools. And so what the European Commission is working on, and again, what we produce is only proposals. Whatever is the final law is a compromise with the governments, with the parliaments. It's a political compromise. But what I mean to say is, we have a tool called, for example, the business to platforms regulation, and that obliges platforms like Booking to treat the members fairly. So if their members decide to apply a different rate on their own website, then Booking has to allow them without Booking. I'm just saying Booking, but I mean any platform. I don't think there's any misbehavior at all. they have to have the freedom to do so without then having to sort of indirectly pay on then the platform by not being visible. Or even a more important one, or bigger one, heavier one, is the recent Services Act, which is not law yet, but it's in the making because it's been discussed, by which platforms will have to have the obligation to vet the information they pass on. For transparency, they need to vet it, that it's real and true and reliable. And this is going to have to be the responsibility of the platforms. Now, these kind of regulations, these kind of things, sort of initiatives, they take years to compromise, to come to fruition. But when they do, they can change the market quite deeply, I think. And that's what we're working on. So I'd say it should be a combination of let's talk together, let's agree together on what we need, because we cannot just, ruin a business or change the market on a whim. But then let's be real. If there's a problem, then something has to be done from a regulatory point of view as well.
Exceptional AI, Brody. How are you kind of using this almost to a benefit for your clients and the people that you work with when it comes to that gap and closing it in terms of cost versus conscience? Have you got any case studies that you could maybe share with us?
Yeah, I've got one to share, but I want to just quickly touch on Mrs. point. And I think globally there's no recognized sustainable mark, right? We have certified B corporation, like booking.com might be certified B, we're certified B, but is there a sustainable thing that we all identify with and we go, okay, that's sustainable? I mean, I don't know of one and I can't think of one. So it's a bit like, trusting a bank. No one trusts a bank. But we should be able to have something that we can recognize and go, okay, cool. This product that's being sold to me is a sustainable one because it's got the tick of sustainable, but that's something we as an industry need to come up with, and it's not something to be solved overnight, but it's something to be solved. And going back to your original question, Kate, it's more about for us at Exceptional Alien about connecting with like-minded businesses that don't have the ability to do the storytelling element, but they have the data to show, like a booking.com, to show that they've got, hey, all these people want information about sustainable travel and sustainable connectivity in place, right? But they don't necessarily, they focus on other core businesses like an OTA is, they're focused on bookings, or on an airline, they're focused on whatever, so they don't have that, I guess, that creative capability that we have to do the storytelling element and then use the data to connect the two and hopefully get to the consumer. That I kind of gone over that a couple of times, so sorry.
Don't be silly. Again, I think sometimes it does, and look, we wouldn't be here today if we didn't need to reiterate ourselves again and again and again when it comes to lots of issues, because if we didn't, then they would have been solved overnight and we wouldn't be holding things like a World for Travel to kind of tackle things because there would be no need. But Marcella, you touched upon it earlier when it comes to stakeholder buy-in and challenging that behavior and the mindset behind it. So what do we need in terms of buy-in from everyone? Is it a case of stakeholders as well as consumer behavior changes? Is it a buy-in internally that completely goes from top to bottom of an organization? How do we tackle this?
I think it's important to do things, link sustainability with the market wanted it. So it's when we say before, starting with educating people about the sure the impacts of the choice. Don't hide the sustainability, bring it into visitor experience. So if also making those that wants to change their behavior pay more. And it's important, for example, about the regulation of the European Union. I remember some years ago when they decided to banning the plastic straw in catering. This has an impact to the tourism industry. Also, I remember when I was in Nepal in 2015, they also banned the plastic bag in supermarket. This has an impact. So the value chain of tourism, it's quite big. So we can use also other sector to be much more responsible, much more sustainable, And also, I think it's important to learn from the other sector that already use the artificial intelligence. So starting to do a benchmarking about what happens in the other sector and try to use and adapt it to our reality of tourism.
Yeah, thank you. I think looking at other industries is always going to be great for insights. If I could go to a quick fire round then, what would you do differently? And it could be a one-word answer maybe because of time. What would you do differently going forward to get more movement globally in the industry when it comes to sustainability? Raj?
I think I'm already doing it. So I'm actually quite happy with what I'm doing. I'm trying to change consumer behavior because I think tourism is so demand-driven that the only way to change it is to change demand. And I think we can see right here, there's no consumers in the room. I mean, we're consumers ourselves, but there's no consumer forum in the room. We don't never listen to them, and yet we communicate daily with them. So, to change, if we change that demand, everything will change here. The way we do things will already change. So I'm actually happy with what I'm doing. We're moving in a direction of changing demand globally.
Marcelo, what would you suggest to get movement moving?
In my opinion, there is something important that I would like to add. It's if we don't associate the concept of sustainability with the competitiveness, including the price, this will be a very difficult battle to win. So, for example, when I worked in Central America with the Rainforest Alliance for the certification, one thing was to work on the efficiency and on reducing cost. But this not automatically reflect in reducing price, so in competitiveness. So I think we need to look at the whole life cost of product and services and start educating customer of this real wider cost of unsustainable product. I remember in the European Union, they start to talk about environment, the cost of the environment. So it's important to use these kind of things also in tourism. That way, instead of sustainable products appearing more expensive, we can show that it is the reverse. It is unsustainable products that are ultimately more expensive, especially for future generations that face the underlying future cost.
Thank you. Maria, one word, what would you do to encourage?
One sentence, at
One
least.
sentence.
Sustainability as a norm, not as an exception. That would be mine.
Strong, very strong. Brody.
Oh, damn, that was a good one.
Hard to
I have one
follow.
word, though. I have one word. Simplification. Simplification meaning, let's make it simpler to get the information to people and to find. They want it. We know they want it. So simplification for me.
Fantastic, nailed it. Misa.
I think as a mea culpa, I would communicate better what we do too. And if we were able to work better with communication at EU level, I think we would have less skeptics, more supporters, and the citizens on our side. And I think that will really drive it, I think.
Yeah, Roberto also shared that same sentiment and just said we need to be better at communicating what we're doing already because you might not even realize half the stuff we're doing. So thank you so much. Thank you for bearing with us. I know that we took a time back from the next session. So again, thank you for bearing with us. And we really hope you got lots of actionable takeaways from that session as well. Give me a round of applause for our panel.